For some, a pattern of serious sin starts in their youth and continues for many years. And although it's a cause for joy when they return to Jehovah, we're often saddened to see the unavoidable consequences that come with disobeying God. While no one who repents and comes back to the congregation is proud of their story, many, like Brother Derrick Tillett, share their experience as a warning example for our young ones. Brother Tillett was raised in the truth, but never progressed to baptism as a young person.
As a teenager, I was leading a double life. So when I turned 18, I left the truth because I wanted the freedom of the world. By this point in time, I'd been introduced to drugs and the corruptive influence of heavy metal music. And it started out small, but then somebody introduced me to methamphetamine. And that was my poison. The debauched lifestyle that I was living ended up costing me my job, my wife, my kids, my family, everything. I lost everything. And in order to support my unquenchable lust for drugs, I started dealing. So I had run out of drugs for about 3 days, and I experienced what is called a moment of clarity. The fog lifts. You know, you could think clearly, and I could really see where I was in my life, just how low, how bad, how dark things were. I said a prayer to Jehovah, and I prayed to him, and I said, I don't want to live this life anymore. I knew I had to change. I didn't know how, and I didn't know when. But if it was going to happen, I was going to need God's help. So a buddy of mine who is affiliated with a notorious biker gang saw just how bad off I was. He told me, you're gonna end up dead or in prison if you keep going this way, Derrick. Every day on my way to work, I had to drive by the Kingdom Hall. There it was. There it was. So one day, I decided, why not? And I poked my head into the Kingdom Hall on a Sunday. And what I heard that day blew my mind. How in the world did they know I was going to be in the audience that day? My head was spinning, and I had a lump in my throat. That speaker was speaking straight to my heart. When I got home, I picked up the phone, and I called my parents. And my dad answered the phone.
Hello?
And I was like, Dad, I want to come back to Jehovah.
Okay, well, that sounds good. I'm glad to hear that.
That was the beginning of a beautiful thing. So I moved to California in with my parents for a while, and I went to all the meetings with them. So when I got back from California to Arizona, I cut my hair. And so I walked into the supermarket where my girlfriend was working, and she does this double take, and her jaw is on the ground. She says to me, "You're serious about this, aren't you?" And I said, yeah, I'm going back to Jehovah, and I'm gonna do this either with you or without you. And she kind of looked down at the ground, and she looks back up at me and she says, let's do this. So now we're pioneering together. She's in her 5th year of pioneering, and I'm in my 3rd year of pioneering. And I was inspired by her to do that. You know, I kind of have one regret, and I wish that I would have done this a lot sooner. I lost my youngest son to a drug overdose at the age of 23 last year. And it's been a little bit of a tough thing to deal with. You know, I have some feelings of guilt. It takes a lot of praying. Our congregation is wonderful. They're so supportive, the fellow pioneers. So We're always keeping busy, keeping my mind going. There's so many in the congregation that I love, and they love me back. If you're thinking about leaving the truth, don't do it. Satan's world will chew you up and spit you out. And if you're out in the world, or maybe you've experienced some problems, Jehovah wants you back. Do it. And your parents, don't ever give up hope. Don't ever underestimate what you do with your kids at a young age. Because like even with me, we're talking 20-something years later of craziness. I knew where to came back. I knew where to go. The things that my parents had instilled in me as a youth.
As is so often the case, Derrick's decisions in his youth had far-reaching consequences. As a teen, he chose a double life instead of pursuing dedication and baptism. So by the time of his baptism as an adult in 2008, he had missed the opportunity to raise his sons in a Christian household, knowing now the difference it could have made for his family. Still, Jehovah forgives in a large way and allows Brother Tillett and others with similar experiences the joy and hope we all have in common in our spiritual paradise.